Stranger Than Fiction is a seriously underrated 2006 psychological fantasy drama starring Will Ferrell, Maggie Gyllenhaal, and Emma Thompson. It concerns an IRS agent named Harold Crick, played by Will Ferrell in one of his more serious roles, who one day starts to hear a voice in his head narrating his life. He naturally wonders if he is going crazy, but the voice intrigues him nonetheless, and he seeks out the help of a literature professor, played by Dustin Hoffman, to figure out what this means for him, particularly when the voice tells him he is going to die soon. Meanwhile, a troubled writer, Emma Thompson, struggles to finish her next masterpiece, primarily because she can't figure out how to kill off her main character. I won't go into the primary spoilers, that's not the focus of this review, but I do recommend you watch the film beforehand, as there may be some spoilers, and it's a great film. Stranger Than Fiction is on its own a moving and thought-provoking film. It primarily deals with how you want to live your life, knowing your time on this earth is limited, but I want to analyze it for an aspect that is often overlooked, its treatment of an autistic character. Though the word autism, or anything similar, is never used or alluded to in this film, it is very obvious that Harold Crick was written as an autistic character. He is socially awkward, making several social faux pas throughout the film.
It was difficult for Harold to imagine Miss Pascal as a revolutionary.
Not now.
Her thin arms, hoisting protest signs, her long, shapely legs dashing from tear gas. Harold wasn't prone to fantasies, and so he tried his best to remain professional, but of course failed. He couldn't help but imagine Miss Pascal stroking the side of his face with the soft blade of her finger. He couldn't help but imagine her immersed in a tub, shaving her legs. And he couldn't help but imagine her naked, stretched across his bed.
Mr. Crick.
Yes, what is it?
You're staring at my tits.
I don't think I was. I don't think I would do that. If I was, I can assure you it was only as a representative of the United States government. And I want you.
What?
There's so many reasons. There's so many influences in my life that are telling me, at times quite literally, that I should come here and bring you these, but I'm doing this because I want you.
You want me?
In no uncertain terms.
What? Isn't there some very clear and established rule about fraternization?
Auditor-oddity protocol?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't care.
Why?
Because I want you.
Though well-adjusted to adult life and obviously very high-functioning, at the beginning of the film, he is very isolated and displays a clear disconnect with his peers in the social world in general. He has a special interest in math, which he has turned into a career in accounting and taxes, something many autistic people do. He also shows repetitive OCD-like behavior, counting things like his steps and brush strokes while brushing his teeth, down to precise science. He takes things overly literally, as evidenced in one scene where he misinterprets the custom of bringing his love interest flowers, actually to her delight.
Let's go.
Mr. Crick.
Hi.
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 I'm glad I caught you.
Oh, yeah? Why?
Because I wanted to bring these to you.
What are they?
Flowers.
What?
I brought you flowers.
Finally, he even has a savant ability, the ability to multiply large quantities in his head without performing any conscious calculations. This is not much unlike the abilities of real-life savant Daniel Tammet, who also has a very high-functioning form of autism. One thing I like about the representation of a savant is that even though it's a common stereotype of autistic people in media, it is not emphasized as a defining characteristic of the character like it is in Rain Man or The Good Doctor. Neither is it portrayed as an ability that cancels out Harold's disability. It's portrayed as something that is just another one of his unique traits. It's not really followed up with throughout the film either. It's just something that's casually referred to at the beginning of the film. I think this is a more accurate representation of an autistic savant. The emphasis isn't on, oh wow, autism is so amazing, look what he can do. But rather, he happens to have a savant ability, but that's not who he is. Though I've only met 2 autistic people in real life who had anything close to savant ability, namely calendar counting, and I'm obviously not a savant myself, so I don't have much experience with savant syndrome, as it is actually quite rare. I believe that the way savant syndrome is portrayed in Stranger Than Fiction is realistic and respectfully done. One core element of Stranger Than Fiction is the romantic side of it, which typically I don't like in movies, but this romance is very well wrought. It's one of the only films portraying romance between an autistic character and a neurotypical character in film, and it shows that autistic people are perfectly capable of forming loving, empathetic relationships. Of course, this is different for different types of autism and degrees on the autism spectrum, and Harold is obviously very minimally impaired, but so many people still believe that autistic people can't date or fall in love. I also like how his love interest, Anna, played by Maggie Gyllenhaal, is neurotypical. Not that there's anything wrong with 2 autistic or other disabled people dating, of course, but I do like that the movie shows that even though people like Harold may have a disadvantage when it comes to the neurotypical dating world, they still have the potential to navigate it effectively. My main reason why this is the best film portrayal of autism is because Harold, despite the fantastical circumstance he is put in and his issues with communicating, is a really realistic and relatable protagonist. He's a human being, with all the wants, needs, and faults you or I might have. Autistic or not, Harold ultimately wants to be appreciated through his actions and really grows as a character. Karen Eiffel, the author played by Emma Thompson, who may be autistic as well, she makes a lot of social faux pas, is very eccentric, and excels in her obsession with writing and making up ways to kill off her characters, also learns to overcome her own issues and build relationships. Every character is very nuanced and human. Though Will Ferrell is often just in a movie for comedy purposes with varied results, he really commands a more restrained emotional performance. He makes everything so much more convincing for his character. You really empathize with his character. Though he is autistic and he has some eccentricities due to that, that doesn't stop him from being a relatable character. It's surprising that a performance and a character like this would come from Will Ferrell of all people, but here we are. Overall, Stranger Than Fiction is an emotional and thought-provoking movie, and one of the only 2 romance movies I love. Guess the other one, as I'm not usually a big fan of romance. But the love story in this movie is honestly so sweet, and Maggie Gyllenhaal and Will Ferrell's chemistry genuinely makes you want to follow their story. Harold Crick is my favorite autistic character in film, and Ferrell genuinely represents autism by playing this character so well. Dustin Hoffman does a great job of a parody of the academic, as does Emma Thompson as a disturbed writer. Even Queen Latifah is great in her minor role as Eiffel's assistant. I highly recommend this movie, and I hope you see it as the masterpiece it is.